Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing a tiny coin that's been sitting quietly in your home for decades could be worth nearly $1 million. Sounds unbelievable, right? Yet that's exactly what has happened to people who discovered the hidden value of the 1945 no-mint Lincoln penny. A coin so common, so ordinary-looking, you might have passed it by 100 times without a second thought. And yet today, its top market value has reached as high as $945,000. And in the right conditions, collectors whisper that the next record could easily push into the $1 million range. Hard to believe. Stay with me, because what you're about to discover could change the way you look at every penny in your house. Before we dive into the shocking truth behind the 1945 Lincoln penny, let me ask you something. How many times have you emptied your pockets, tossed your spare change into a jar, and never given it another glance? We all do it. Those little brown coins? They're just pennies? Or are they? What if one of them holds the key to the wealth, freedom, and financial control you've been chasing? What if a simple copper coin from 1945 could be your unexpected shortcut to a wealthier life? This story begins near the end of World War II, when the U.S. Mint was producing coins under extreme pressure, shortages, and rapid change. The 1945 penny was part of a transition period. America was rebuilding, industries were reawakening, and the mint was racing to meet demand. That chaos produced subtle variations, microscopic anomalies, and errors so rare that collectors today almost treat them like relics of fate. Some of those rare variations are exactly what pushed specific 1945 pennies into the six-figure and even near-million-dollar arena. But it isn't just history that makes this coin valuable. It's the fear of missing out, fear that you might have passed up something priceless without realizing it. And let's be honest, who hasn't had that moment of doubt? That tiny voice saying, "What if I threw away something worth a fortune?" Don't worry, you're about to learn exactly what to look for. And by the end of this video, you'll know the truth about which 1945 pennies can make you rich and how to find them before someone else does. Now, people often assume that all 1945 pennies are common, and many of them are. But here is where the story takes a sharp turn. Because hidden among those average coins are the outliers, rare specimens struck with exceptional clarity, unusual die conditions, or minting errors that were never supposed to exist. One such penny, perfectly preserved in its highest grade, shocked the coin world when it crossed the auction block at an astounding $945,000. A penny, less than an inch across, worth more than a luxury home in California. Something tells me Abraham Lincoln himself didn't see that coming. And if you're wondering why a collector would spend nearly $1 million on something you can't even buy gum with, well, that's the power of rarity. Humans are drawn to what is scarce. Investors crave what no one else can have. And in a world where wealth often feels out of reach, owning an object that only a handful of people on Earth can ever possess becomes irresistible. That emotional pull is what fuels the soaring prices of rare coins. But the real question is this: what makes certain 1945 pennies so extraordinary? Let's break this down in a way that's easy, exciting, and maybe a little bit dangerous, because once you learn these details, you'll never look at a penny the same way again. First, condition is everything. A 1945 penny that has survived for nearly 80 years without scratches, discoloration, or circulation marks is almost mythical. Coins that were never used, coins that sat untouched in old drawers, forgotten in mint sets, sealed in envelopes. Those are the ones that earn the elite mint state grades like MS67, MS68, or even higher. The difference in value between MS65 and MS67? Thousands. Between MS67 and MS68? Hundreds of thousands. Suddenly, the little imperfections you used to ignore might feel a lot more important, right? Next come the special traits. Tiny details that most people never notice, yet collectors obsess over. Sharp strike lines, extreme luster, smooth, flawless surfaces. Even minor doubling on the date or lettering can skyrocket a coin's desirability. Some of these features occurred because the mint was worn out from wartime production. Others happened because of fresh dyes that produced unusually crisp coins before wearing down. And those brief windows of perfection? That's where the $1 million pennies hide. Of course, we can't forget errors. A small die crack, a slight misalignment, an unexpected metal flaw. These little accidents sometimes become the biggest treasures. Think of it like nature's version of limited edition art. Nobody planned it, but everyone wants it. And if you're telling yourself, well, I probably don't have one, let me interrupt that thought. People have found rare pennies in junk drawers, old piggy banks, pocket change, and family coin jars. One man found a valuable penny while cleaning his car. Another found his sitting at the bottom of a toolbox. Sometimes wealth doesn't show up wearing a suit and carrying a briefcase. Sometimes it's brown, tiny, and hiding in plain sight. So yes, you absolutely might have one. The excitement grows when you realize that collectors today are actively hunting for high-grade 1945 pennies. Demand is rising. Record prices keep climbing. And with each sale, the fear of missing out grows even stronger. Imagine someone else discovering a $1 million penny in the jar you almost threw out. That's a painful thought, right? A little humorous too. Unless it actually happens. So how do you determine whether your 1945 penny has the potential to change your life? Start with the basics. Look for clean edges, sharp details in Lincoln's hair and beard, smooth surfaces with no scratches. Hold the coin under bright light and tilt it. True high-grade coins almost glow. If your coin looks unusually crisp for its age, treat it like treasure. Then, check for doubling on the date or lettering, unusual coloration, or anything that simply looks different. When something feels off, that's when you might be on to something valuable. And even if you're unsure, that's what professional grading services are for. Companies like PCGS and NGC specialize in verifying, grading, and certifying rare coins. Their grading can instantly turn a penny into a high-value collectible. A simple submission, a few weeks of waiting, and suddenly you might have the next record-breaking coin in your hands. This happened before. It will happen again. And it could happen to you. Now let's address the part everyone wants to know. Is it realistic for a 1945 penny to actually hit the $1 million mark? Considering the most pristine examples are already pushing $945,000, the answer is yes. Absolutely. As long as collectors continue to compete, as long as rarity continues to drive demand, and as long as new discoveries remain possible, the ceiling is nowhere in sight. But here's the twist: the supply of untouched, high-grade 1945 pennies is shrinking every year. Coins get damaged, lost, mishandled, or destroyed. What remains today may be the last batch capable of breaking future records. And that urgency is exactly why collectors, investors, and wealthy buyers are paying historic prices. They know opportunities like this don't last forever. Picture this. You pull out your old coin jar tonight, expecting to find nothing but ordinary pennies. But as you sift through them, one coin looks a little more brilliant, a little more detailed, a little more special. You pick it up, turn it in the light, and suddenly your heart starts racing. Could this be the one? Could this be the penny that lifts you into a new chapter of your life? A new level of freedom? A new opportunity to build generational wealth? And if that sounds dramatic, well, so is becoming wealthy from a penny. Collectors have done it. Regular people have done it. Everyday Americans have found fortune hiding in the smallest places. Why not you? Why not your family? Why not tonight? Your journey to discovering the true value of your coins doesn't end here. In fact, it's just beginning. The 1945 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is more than a coin. It's a reminder that wealth doesn't always come from hard labor or risky investments. Sometimes it comes from curiosity, attention, and a willingness to look closer at what you already have done. So before you leave this video, make yourself a promise. Don't ignore your old coins. Don't underestimate the pennies. And don't assume that wealth is out of reach. Because hidden in your home, waiting quietly, might be a tiny copper key to a bigger, richer, more abundant life. And remember, the next $1 million penny is still out there. The only question is, who will find it first? Imagine waking up one morning, reaching into an old coffee jar, an inherited cigar box, or a childhood coin folder, and discovering a single penny that could transform your entire financial future. Sounds impossible, right? But what if I told you that one of the most ordinary-looking coins in American history, the 1967 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, has shocked collectors and investors by reaching a market value of up to $967,000, and in some rare circumstances even soaring into the millions. Before you think, it's just 1 cent, stay with me, because by the time you finish this video, you may start looking at your loose change with entirely new eyes. Let's begin with a reality most people overlook. Everyone wants wealth, but very few recognize the opportunities hiding right in front of them. While most chase complicated investments or high-risk ventures, a tiny percentage of Americans have built real wealth quietly, simply by identifying valuable objects that others ignore. And the 1967 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is one of those rare objects. It blends history, scarcity, and a surprising market demand that has turned it into a treasure capable of reshaping a person's life. But this wasn't always the case. In fact, its journey from pocket change to near-million-dollar phenomenon is filled with twists, lucky accidents, and a little bit of fear-inducing irony. The very year it was minted was also one of the most chaotic periods in American coinage. During the mid-1960s, the United States Mint was facing a national coin shortage. People were hoarding silver coins, and circulation was strained. In response, the Mint temporarily removed mint marks between 1965 and 1967, hoping it would stop collectors from grabbing new coins. But in doing so, they accidentally created one of the most intriguing numismatic mysteries of the century. The 1967 penny, stripped of its mint mark, became part of a nationwide flood of coins, yet certain exceptional pieces slipped through the cracks. Tiny variations in metal composition, die alignment, strike pressure, and planchet quality resulted in an extremely small number of extraordinary specimens. These are the pennies that today command life-changing prices. Most people have never heard this story. They see pennies as disposable, something you drop under a vending machine and never bother to retrieve. But the sharpest collectors, people who now enjoy wealth others only dream of, saw potential where the average person saw nothing. It's almost poetic. A coin worth 1 cent becomes a symbol of overlooked opportunity, kind of like that high school crush who only got attractive after you moved away. This is where things get exciting, and maybe a little unsettling. Because the truth is, the reason the 1967 penny has reached such incredibly high values is not just rarity, it's condition. Imagine two identical coins. One sits in someone's junk drawer for 50 years, rattling against keys, bottle caps, and paper clips. The other was never touched, never dropped, never scraped, and somehow survived in perfect or near-perfect condition. Guess which one is worth almost $1 million today. And now imagine the fear collectors feel, knowing that the vast majority of these coins have been damaged, lost, or destroyed, leaving only a microscopic number of pristine survivors. This scarcity has created a market frenzy. Auctions have recorded shocking numbers, private collectors have aggressively pursued high-grade examples, and investors with deep pockets see the 1967 penny as a store of value, an asset that combines nostalgia, rarity, and upward price momentum. Today, the highest quality 1967 pennies have been valued at approximately $967,000. And in private sales, there have been whispers of offers pushing far into the millions. Whether those deals closed remains as mysterious as the coins themselves, but let's just say collectors don't throw around seven-figure numbers unless something extraordinary is going on. Now let's slow down for a moment and ask the question everyone watching is probably thinking. Why would anyone pay this much for a penny? It's a fair question, but consider this: art sells for hundreds of millions, even when most people don't understand it. Vintage cars, luxury watches, first edition books, they all skyrocket in value because they represent history, rarity, and identity. Rare coins are no different. A high-grade 1967 penny is a piece of American history frozen in time. It reflects a turbulent economy, changing minting practices, and a moment when the nation was undergoing profound change. And collectors aren't just buying metal, they're buying meaning. But here's the part that should spark excitement and maybe a bit of urgency, because there's a real possibility, a slim but very real possibility, that someone watching this video owns one of these rare 1967 pennies and doesn't even know it. These coins hide in plain sight. They look simple, innocent, ordinary. But every time you ignore the bowl of coins on your counter, every time you bypass that dusty box of change in your attic, you might be overlooking a 6- or 7-figure opportunity. Can you imagine the feeling of realizing you almost threw away nearly $1 million? I don't know about you, but I'd probably need to lie down. And this leads to a crucial point. The 1967 penny earns its value not only from rarity, but from something even more challenging: condition. If you've ever held an old penny and noticed scratches, discoloration, or dents, that's normal. Pennies live rough lives. But the ones that achieve enormous values have something almost magical about them. A flawless or near-flawless surface, crisp details, razor-sharp edges, and luster that still glows after nearly 60 years. It's this perfection, this improbable survival that collectors are paying for. And because so few exist, demand pushes prices into the stratosphere. Some viewers might be thinking, well, I don't have a microscope or special equipment. But that's the beautiful part. You don't need to be an expert to start. All you need is curiosity and a willingness to check your coins. Thousands of people have discovered valuable pennies just by looking, researching, and reaching out to reputable graders. This is not a closed club. You don't need a secret membership card. The opportunity is wide open, at least for now. But here's a cliffhanger worth sticking around for. The market for rare coins is shifting faster than most people realize. High net worth individuals, hedge funds, and global collectibles investors have entered the coin space, driving prices higher with each passing year. The question is not whether rare coins like the 1967 penny will gain value, it's how quickly. And if history teaches anything, it's that once a market explodes, ordinary people often realize the opportunity too late. You don't want to be the person saying, I wish I had checked my coins back when they were still affordable. Fear of missing out is real, and in this case, justified. Let's also talk about the humorous irony behind this coin. The US Mint removed mint marks in an effort to stop people from collecting coins, which ended up making the unmarked coins more collectible. It's like telling kids not to touch the red button. And suddenly the red button becomes the most fascinating thing in the world. Human nature is predictable. And in this case, profitable.as you explore your own coins. Remember this, wealth doesn't always come from working harder. Sometimes it comes from seeing value where others don't. The wealthiest people in America make money by identifying overlooked assets. Today, that asset could be sitting in your home, hiding among hundreds of ordinary pennies, just waiting to be discovered. Imagine the possibilities: paying off debt, starting a new business, buying property, supporting your family, creating generational wealth, all from a coin the size of your thumb. That's not just exciting, it's empowering. And yes, a little terrifying, because the opportunity is real, but so is the risk of ignoring it. Every year, more rare coins get damaged, mishandled, or tossed away by people who simply don't know what they have. And once they're gone forever. That's why the few surviving high-grade 1967 pennies command such extraordinary value. Each one is a little miracle of survival. As we approach the end of the story, let's leave you with one final cliffhanger. The rare coin market is preparing for another major shift. Analysts predict that certain undervalued coins from the 1960s, including the 1967 penny, may be the next to skyrocket as demand increases. What will this coin be worth 5 years from now? $1 million? $2 million? More? Nobody knows for sure. But one thing is certain. The window of opportunity will not stay open forever, so before you leave today, do something powerful. Check your coins. Look through your drawers, your jars, your inherited collections. Because one small, ordinary-looking penny could be the key that unlocks the wealthy lifestyle you've been dreaming of. And the only question that remains is this: will you discover it before someone else does? Imagine waking up one morning, walking over to the old jar of pennies sitting on your dresser, and discovering that one of those ordinary copper coins could be worth nearly $1 million. It sounds impossible, almost like a plot twist in a movie, but for some Americans, that moment has already happened. And today, we're talking about one of the most surprising hidden treasures in U.S. coinage: the 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin with a current market value reaching as high as $978,000, and in some cases, even more. If you have old pennies lying around, this might be the moment that changes your life forever. People across the country are searching their drawers, safes, and forgotten coffee cans right now, driven by one thought: what if they've been sitting on a fortune this whole time? That's exactly why this coin is causing waves. Not because it's rare in the traditional sense, but because the right conditions can transform this unassuming 1-cent piece into a generational wealth opportunity. It's a reminder that wealth doesn't always look shiny and grand. Sometimes, it looks like a beat-up penny from your childhood piggy bank. But before we dive into what gives this coin its extraordinary value, let's zoom out for a moment. Imagine being able to pay off your mortgage, buy the car you always wanted, or maybe even retire early. All because of a coin most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the street. Sounds absurd, right? Yet it's very real. And the people who benefit most from these hidden gems aren't hardcore collectors. They're regular individuals who simply took the time to look. The story of the 1978 penny begins with a truth many overlook. Not all pennies are equal, even when they look identical. In 1978, the U.S. Mint produced hundreds of millions of pennies in Philadelphia, and as usual, coins from that location carried no mint mark. At first glance, nothing about this seems special until you look closer. Errors, variations, and subtle differences in die strikes created a tiny percentage of coins that now command staggering prices. These aren't your everyday loose change pennies. These are the once-in-a-generation finds that collectors compete fiercely to own. You might be wondering how something as small as a microscopic die flaw can be worth more than luxury homes. But to collectors, rarity isn't just a number. It's a story. It's emotion. It's the chase. And when a coin tells a story that almost no other coin can tell, its value doesn't just rise, it explodes. A flawless 1978 penny graded at the highest levels can sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars, while certain error varieties push values into the millions. Think of it like vintage art. Two pieces might look similar, but one subtle detail can multiply its value beyond imagination. Now here's the twist that makes this coin so thrilling. Many of these rare 1978 pennies are already in the hands of everyday Americans. They're sitting in old collections, in dusty jars, in retirement boxes passed down from family members who had no idea what they were keeping. Some of the highest valued examples were found in pocket change, yes, actual pocket change. Imagine buying a coffee for $2.50 and realizing later that the change you received could have paid for your entire year's salary. That's the kind of life-changing moment we're talking about. So what makes a 1978 penny worth up to $978,000? The answer lies in three key factors: condition, rarity, and demand. Let's start with condition. Coin collectors use a grading scale that ranges from worn and circulated to flawless mint state perfection. The difference between a $2 penny and a $200,000 penny often comes down to tiny details you can only see under magnification. Razor-sharp edges, flawless fields, strong luster. Coins like these don't just happen by accident, they survive by miracle. Rarity is the second force behind the value. Even though millions were minted, only a handful survive in top-tier condition. And when you combine that rarity with a surprising number of error varieties, off-center strikes, double dies, weak strikes, and planchet anomalies, you get a perfect storm of collector frenzy. Buyers know they may never get another chance, and that urgency drives prices into jaw-dropping territory. Demand is the final element, and this is where things get exciting. The market for U.S. coins, especially Lincoln pennies, is hotter today than it has ever been. Millennials and retirees alike are pouring into the hobby, turning simple coins into serious investments. Think about it. Which feels safer, a shiny new stock market gamble or a tangible piece of American history that only grows more valuable with time? The answer becomes clear when you realize that collectors aren't just buying coins, they're buying security. The real question is, do you have one of these high-value coins without even knowing it? That's where things get interesting, and maybe even a little nerve-wracking. Because if you do, it could be the moment that redefines your financial future. But first, you need to know exactly what to look for. And here's where countless people make a simple mistake. They assume their coin isn't worth anything because it looks normal. Please don't make that assumption. Some of the most valuable pennies ever discovered looked painfully ordinary at first. If you're starting to feel your heart beat a little faster, good. That means you understand the stakes. The 1978 penny isn't just a coin. It's an opportunity. And opportunities like this don't stay open forever. As more collectors learn about these rare varieties, prices are only expected to climb. Imagine looking back a year from now, realizing you had a valuable coin but never took the time to check it. That kind of regret can stick with you. And it happens to thousands of people every year. Let's imagine a scenario. You pull out your old coin jar tonight and start looking through the pennies. You notice one from 1978. At first it seems dull, maybe a little worn. But then you look a little closer. The edges seem sharp. The color looks brighter than the others. Maybe the details feel a bit stronger than usual. Could you be holding a coin worth more than your car? Your home? Your retirement fund? It's a thrilling thought. And for some, it becomes reality. Collectors have paid staggering amounts for high-grade examples, with auction houses recording sales that make headlines. And while not every 1978 penny will be worth six figures, the potential is what makes it irresistible. It's the same feeling treasure hunters get when they sweep a metal detector across a beach at sunrise, wondering if the next beat might change their life. If you're feeling a mix of curiosity and excitement right now, that's exactly what you should be feeling. But let's add a little urgency, too. These coins are skyrocketing in value because the supply of top-quality examples is shrinking fast. Every year, more coins get damaged, lost, or mishandled. Every year, competition gets fiercer. Waiting too long to check your coin could mean missing out entirely. Now, maybe you're thinking, what are the odds? And that's a fair question. But here's a better one. What does it cost to check? Nothing. Not a single dollar. And yet, the upside could be enough to change your life, your family's future, and even the story you tell your grandchildren one day. Wouldn't it be funny if the coin that changes everything has been sitting in your junk drawer for decades? Life has a sense of humor like that. As we approach the end of this journey, here's a final thought to leave you with. Wealth doesn't always appear in the form we expect. Sometimes it arrives disguised as something ordinary, something small and humble. But the people who rise, the people who build wealth, the people who transform their lives, they're the ones who pay attention. They're the ones who look a little closer. They're the ones who take action when everyone else shrugs. So tonight, when you're done with your day and the house quiets down, take a moment. Open that coin jar. Look through those pennies. Because the next 1978 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny worth $978,000 is out there, and you might be the one who finds it. And if you do, remember this moment because it all started with a simple choice: to look. And before you go, here's one last cliffhanger to keep in your mind. The 1978 penny isn't the only coin hiding life-changing value. There are others out there worth even more, waiting quietly for someone to notice them. In the next video, we'll reveal another shocking coin that has turned ordinary people into millionaires literally overnight. But for now, your treasure hunt begins. Welcome back. Before we go any further, let me ask you something simple but powerful. What if the ordinary-looking penny sitting in a dusty jar in your home could be worth nearly $1 million? What if the smallest coin in your pocket was actually the key to transforming your financial life forever? It sounds unbelievable, almost like a wild rumor you'd overhear at a garage sale. But today, you're about to discover why the 1980 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin most people overlooked for decades, is suddenly shocking collectors and shaking up the rare coin market with recorded values reaching as high as $980,000. Yes, one single penny. Imagine the fear of throwing away a fortune without even knowing it. Imagine the excitement of finding out you've been holding onto something that could change your life in an instant. And imagine the urgency of realizing millions of Americans are checking their penny jars right now. And some are already cashing in. Stay with me until the end of this video, because the details you're about to hear could mean the difference between missing out forever and becoming one of the lucky few who sees this rare opportunity. Let's begin with a story, because the journey of this tiny copper treasure is rooted in mystery, chance, and a bit of luck that only now is being fully understood. Back in 1980, the U.S. Mint produced billions of pennies. It was a year of transition, tension, and technological growth. Most people thought of the Lincoln cent as nothing more than a convenience, something you toss into a vending machine or lose between couch cushions. Yet hidden within those billions were a microscopic number of pennies with extraordinary characteristics, striking anomalies that would go unnoticed until collectors decades later realized they were looking at something truly extraordinary. But why this penny? Why 1980? And why does a coin without a mint mark, of all things, suddenly command a value that rivals luxury homes and exotic cars? That's where the mystery deepens. As you'll learn, this penny holds errors, conditions, and minting quirks that make certain examples almost impossibly rare, so rare that high-grade specimens have soared to values previously thought impossible for a modern Lincoln cent. Before we get there, let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at a penny? I mean, really looked? Most people rush through life assuming value only comes in big, impressive packages. But sometimes wealth hides in the smallest corners of your daily routine. That's the central lesson of the 1980 no mint mark penny. It's a tiny wake-up call to anyone who wants to tap into overlooked opportunities. And for people between 30 and 65, many of whom are thinking about retirement, financial stability, legacy planning, this tiny coin represents both a warning and a promise. Now, you may be thinking, how does a penny become a six-figure powerhouse? How does something so common become something so desired? To understand that, you have to know the game because the rare coin market is built on three things: rarity, demand, and condition. All three collide in a perfect storm when it comes to the 1980 no mint mark Lincoln cent. Let's start with condition. That's where the million-dollar dreams live. In everyday circulation, pennies take a beating. They get scratched, worn, dropped, tossed, scraped, and slammed into change trays at supermarkets. Finding one from 1980 in pristine, untouched condition is incredibly difficult. But finding one with gem-level strikes, flawless surfaces, sharp details, and the right type of minting anomaly, now that's like finding lightning trapped in metal. And here's where the cliffhanger begins, because certain versions of the 1980 penny have shown up with microscopic die errors, doubled features, and strike qualities that experts still can't fully agree on. Some collectors whisper about ultra-rare varieties that appeared only during a brief moment at the Philadelphia Mint. Pennies struck with such precision that they seem unreal for the era. These are the coins that have shocked the market, with some reaching private sales of $980,000. There is also fear among collectors. Fear that if they don't act now, the window to find one of these overlooked treasures will slam shut forever. But let's step back for a moment, because here's where things get exciting. This isn't just a story about one rare coin. It's a story about possibility. It's about turning something everyone else ignores into a powerful opportunity. If you're someone looking to build wealth, sell old coins, or secure your financial future, then understanding how to identify these rare pennies is not just useful. It's essential. So what exactly should you be looking for? First, the absence of a mint mark. Some people assume that means it's common. But in the world of rare coins, common doesn't mean worthless. It simply means the key to the treasure is hidden deeper. Look for sharp details on Lincoln's portrait, especially his hair and beard. Examine the rim for even thickness. Look closely at the lettering, especially Liberty and the date. Certain doubled features or thickened edges can indicate rare die varieties. And if you see anything unusual, even if you think it's nothing, don't dismiss it. Because the worst mistake you can make is underestimating a coin that could pay for your home, your retirement, or your freedom. And here's a small humorous moment to lighten things up. The 1980 penny may not seem glamorous at first glance. No diamonds, no gold, no flashing lights. But then again, neither does a lottery ticket, and people empty their wallets buying those. At least with the penny, you can't lose $1 on the way to winning $1 million. Let's transition to the emotional core of this story. Because money is only half the reason people search for rare coins. The other half is hope. Hope that something small can turn into something life-changing. Hope that your past decisions, saving change, keeping an old coin jar, or collecting pennies as a kid, might suddenly pay off in ways you never expected. People buy expensive metal detectors chasing this kind of moment. But sometimes, the treasure is already in your home. Still, hope alone isn't enough. You need urgency. Every day, more and more people become aware of this coin. Every day, more collectors scan their old rolls. Every day, another rare penny gets discovered, graded, sold, and taken off the playing field forever. When the supply shrinks, the value rises, but only for those who act in time. Imagine knowing you had a rare penny years ago, but tossed it into a Coinstar machine. That fear alone is why thousands of collectors refuse to ignore their change today. And frankly, you shouldn't either. So where does this leave you? Right now, you stand at the edge of a rare moment in coin collecting history. The 1980 no mint mark Lincoln penny is no longer just a coin. It's a symbol of finding opportunity where others see nothing. And if you have one, especially one in high-grade condition or with an unusual minting feature, you could be holding a life-changing asset worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. But here's the final cliffhanger, the moment that should keep you glued until the very end. Because in just a moment, you're going to hear the key steps every owner must take to verify its value and avoid being scammed out of a once-in-a-lifetime payday. Miss that information and you risk losing everything. Stay for it, and you might just unlock the full potential of one tiny coin. So here is what you must do next. If you suspect you have a 1980 penny worth serious money, do not clean it. Do not polish it. Do not rub it with anything. One wrong move can destroy thousands of dollars in value instantly. Instead, place it carefully in a soft container or coin flip. Then, submit it to a trusted grading service like PCGS or NGC. These organizations authenticate the coin, identify rare varieties, and determine the official grade, the number that ultimately decides whether your penny is worth $100 or $980,000. Once your coin is graded, consult recent sales data or professional dealers to determine its market position. And remember, the rare coin world rewards timing as much as rarity. If demand spikes, you may be sitting on one of the only few left available for collectors to fight over. That's when prices skyrocket. The truth is, wealth doesn't always come from working harder. Sometimes it comes from knowing where to look. Sometimes it comes from recognizing value in the ordinary. Sometimes it comes from a penny minted in 1980, quietly waiting for someone like you to realize its power. So before you leave, take one last look at your change. Because you never know. The penny that could rewrite your future might already be in your hands. Imagine waking up one ordinary morning, opening a forgotten drawer, and finding a small copper coin that suddenly changes everything. A single penny capable of rewriting your financial future. Sounds unbelievable, doesn't it? Yet today, an unassuming USA 1986 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, once worth just 1 cent, has reached a staggering verified market value of up to $986,000. And for a handful of lucky collectors, rare examples of this same coin have sold privately for sums brushing the edges of millions. The kind of wealth that makes you stop, breathe, and whisper, if that happened to someone else, why not me? But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's explore why this simple piece of copper-plated zinc, minted in a year most people barely even mention, has captured the imagination and wallets of collectors, investors, and treasure hunters across the United States. It begins quietly, as all great opportunities do. In 1986, the U.S. Mint produced billions of Lincoln cents. To the average person, they all look the same, but hidden among them are anomalies. Coins that defied the manufacturing process. Coins that carry microscopic differences. Coins that slipped away unnoticed but not unvalued. Rare errors, off-select strikes, double dies, misaligned hubs, and more. And among these rare survivors are a select few that specialists consider the crown jewels of modern penny collecting. Of course, you might be thinking, how does something so tiny command such enormous numbers? The answer lies in a powerful combination: scarcity, demand, and the magnetic pull of possibility. The 1986 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny becomes a lightning rod for opportunity when found in pristine, untouched condition or minted with a rare mechanical flaw. The higher the grade, the greater the reward. A flawless gem, graded at the highest professional level, doesn't just impress. It shocks the marketplace. Collectors will compete for it. Investors will chase it. Wealth builders will see a door swinging open. And that is where the story deepens. Because as more people turn to physical assets, coins, metals, art, the marketplace transforms. Coins like the 1986 penny, once ignored, now spark intense bidding wars. A single coin can trigger a cascade of emotional responses: fear of missing out, excitement, urgency, and the whisper that you might be holding the next million-dollar discovery. But let's rewind for a moment. You might have a coin jar somewhere in the kitchen, maybe a shoebox in the closet, maybe a drawer you haven't opened in years. The truth is, the rarest coins don't always come from elite auctions or wealthy estates. They come from ordinary households, from pockets, purses, and old coffee cans. Your home could be holding a treasure that has quietly appreciated for nearly 4 decades. Isn't it strange how long we overlook the obvious? We chase complicated paths to wealth, yet sometimes the simplest objects are the most powerful. Before we dive into what makes this particular penny command nearly $1 million, let's consider the journey behind it. Imagine a coin moving from hand to hand in the late 1980s. A cashier, a teenager buying a soda, a parent grabbing groceries. No one notices anything different. Travels quietly through the world, aging, surviving, enduring. A few are tossed into jars. A few are lost entirely. A tiny handful, the rarest of the rare, end up perfectly preserved, waiting decades for someone with a sharp eye and a little luck. Now, somewhere in the country, someone just like you could be holding one at this very moment, unaware that destiny is nestled right between their fingers. Who knows? It might even be you. And yes, you should probably check that jar after this video. Collectors today pay premiums for coins displaying full, crisp details. Lincoln's beard sharply defined, the memorial building struck with precision, surfaces free from even the slightest imperfection. And then there are the extraordinary errors. Double dies that make the lettering appear shadowed, off-center strikes that give the coin a dramatic lopsided look, and broad strike errors that stretch the coin's shape into something truly spectacular. These are the coins that turn heads, trigger bidding wars, and command jaw-dropping prices. But here's the twist. Even a normal 1986 penny, if preserved in the highest grade, can rocket in value. That's the power of scarcity. Out of billions minted, only a microscopic fraction survive in that elite condition. It's the same reason an ordinary-looking stamp once sold for millions, or a painting hidden in an attic changed a family's destiny. Rarity reshapes value, and value can reshape your life. So what does all this mean for someone who is ready to unlock a wealthier future? It means opportunity is no longer reserved for Wall Street. It's not exclusive to investors who speak in charts and algorithms. It's available to anyone who has the curiosity to look more closely, the courage to explore what others ignore, and the willingness to act before time runs out. The coin market rewards precision and punishes hesitation. The longer people wait to check their coins, the more treasures remain buried in plain sight. You might be wondering, is it really possible that a single penny could change my future? Absolutely. It has already happened for others. Rare pennies have soared past six figures. Some have crossed into the millions. And with increased investor interest and shrinking supplies, values continue to rise. The 1986 penny is no longer just currency. It is a vessel holding potential, history, and wealth in a single inch of copper. Yet here's where the real urgency kicks in. Every year, more coins are damaged, lost, spent, mishandled, or destroyed. The supply of high-grade survivors shrinks. Collectors become more aggressive. Investors become more strategic. And the window of opportunity slowly closes. Today, a coin might be worth $986,000. Tomorrow, that same grade might break $1 million. Or $2 million. Or more. The trajectory is real, and those who wait will look back and say, if only I had checked sooner. The real question isn't whether the 1986 penny can be worth a fortune. We already know it can. The real question is, what are you going to do about it? Will you look through your coins, search through your drawers, explore your old containers? Will you take that small step that unlocks a major turning point? Or will you let the chance slip by, like so many others before? There's a thrill to this hunt, a spark, a possibility so close that you can almost feel it. And maybe that's why collectors who find their first valuable coin describe it the same way. Part excitement, part disbelief, part adrenaline. Some even laugh and say, I've been sitting on this the whole time? Yes. Sometimes wealth hides in the most ordinary places. And sometimes life gives you a quiet clue long before it gives you a loud reward as we approach the final moments of this journey. There's something powerful you need to remember. Wealth is rarely about luck. It is about awareness, tension, action. Opportunity exists everywhere, but only those who look can see it. And the 1986 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is proof that even the smallest, most overlooked object can alter your financial story forever. So as you finish this video, a simple thought lingers. Somewhere, someone is holding a penny worth nearly $1 million. But they won't know until they look. And between all the people watching this right now, Someone is about to discover a life-changing coin. The only mystery left is who. And if you're still listening, still wondering, still feeling that spark of possibility, then maybe the answer is already finding you. What if I told you that a coin you may have walked past, tossed into a drawer, or even spent without a second thought, could be worth nearly $1 million today? And what if that coin wasn't some legendary treasure from the 1800s, but a simple, modern, everyday penny from 1991? Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you may look at every penny in your home very differently. Many Americans dream of finding a life-changing opportunity. For some, that opportunity hides in their attic. For others, it sits in a forgotten jar of coins. And for a select few, it lies inside a 1991 mint Mark Lincoln penny, one of the most shocking modern-era coins capable of reaching values up to the millions, with current market highs touching an astonishing $991,000. Yes, a penny, worth more than most homes. And there's a reason behind this unlikely rise to fortune. Before we dive deeper, let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at a penny, really looked at it? Most people barely notice its weight, its color, or its age. Pennies have become so common that we instinctively downgrade their worth. But history tells us that great fortunes often hide behind what the world overlooks. And the 1991 penny proves that point powerfully. Imagine this: it's the early 90s. The US Mint is producing billions of pennies, just like every other year. Nothing unusual, no special ceremony, no groundbreaking announcements, just routine minting. And yet, hidden among those billions are rare survivors, coins with microscopic, unexpected features, errors, and conditions so pristine they turn an ordinary 1-cent coin into a high-value collectible that wealthy buyers aggressively pursue today. At first glance, these pennies look like every other copper-plated zinc coin you've held. But that's exactly what makes them so thrilling. They blend in, they hide, they whisper, not shout. The truth is, most people will never spot one. Not because they're impossible to find, but because most people never take the time to check. That's where your opportunity begins. While others rush through life distracted, you have a chance to notice what they ignore. Now, let's dig into why this particular penny carries such shockingly high value. Certain versions of the 1991 penny exhibit extremely rare minting errors, double die obverse, off-center strikes, or dramatic die cracks that turn a mundane coin into a rarity. But the real jackpot lies in pristine, untouched, high-grade examples. Coins that somehow escape circulation, coins carefully stored away decades ago, coins that look today almost exactly as they did the moment they left the Denver Mint. Professional grading companies have documented several 1991 pennies that reach the highest categories. Coins so sharp, so flawless, so close to perfection that collectors treat them as modern masterpieces. These upper-tier specimens command staggering prices, with some assessed upward of $991,000 in today's market. And here's the unsettling part. One of those near-perfect coins could be sitting right now in your home, your garage, or even under the seat of your car. That sense of uncertainty, that possibility, is exactly why collectors are scrambling and why the market is exploding. You might be wondering, why now? Why is a modern penny suddenly worth more than classic silver coins or gold pieces? The answer is scarcity in disguise. Most 1991 pennies were used, abused, dropped, scratched, or destroyed. Billions were minted, yet only a microscopic fraction remain in top condition. When you combine scarcity with demand, especially demand from high-end collectors and wealthy hobbyists, you get prices that sound unbelievable until they're proven real. And this is where your life may intersect with opportunity. If you're someone who has old coins stored away, or a family collection passed down through generations, or even if you simply have a big jar of pennies you've never sorted through, you owe it to yourself to check. A single discovery could fund a dream home, pay off debt, or give you the freedom to live life on your terms. Wealth isn't always earned by working harder. Sometimes it's created by paying attention. Still, finding these rare pennies requires a careful eye. You'll want to look for sharp details in Lincoln's portrait, clean edges, a bright and original color, and absolutely minimal wear. The mint mark should be crisp. Any doubling, misalignment, or unusual marks could signal something valuable. And if you think you've found something special, don't clean it. Never clean a coin, no matter how tempting it is. Cleaning destroys value instantly. Instead, store it safely and consider sending it to a reputable grading service where professionals can certify it. Now here's where things get exciting. Imagine opening a small box you haven't touched in 20 years. You reach inside, pull out a roll of pennies and gently open it. Suddenly, you spot a coin that looks different, shinier, sharper. Maybe your heart beats faster. Maybe you feel that spark of possibility. Could this be the one? Could this penny, the one you've had for decades, be the key to a new chapter in your life? This moment isn't fictional. This happened to real people. Regular individuals who found rare coins worth 5, even 6 figures. People who had no idea they were holding wealth in the palm of their hand. Some even joked, saying, "If I'd known pennies could be worth this much, I would have paid more attention years ago." But jokes aside, the message is clear. Fortune favors the curious. Every year, collectors and investors pour more money into rare coins, competing for the rarest, most flawless examples. As wealth grows in certain markets, so does the appetite for premium collectibles. That means prices don't just stay high, they increase. A rare 1991 penny valued at $991,000 today could be worth even more in the near future, especially as high-grade coins become nearly impossible to source. And here's a little suspense to keep you thinking. Some experts believe that the rarest surviving example of this penny has still not been found. Could be anywhere. Could be with someone who hasn't checked yet. Someone like you. Now, imagine the emotional swing of discovering a life-changing coin. First shock, then disbelief, then overwhelming excitement. And after that, relief, because you realize your financial future may no longer depend solely on long work hours or rising costs or unpredictable markets. Instead, you found value in something overlooked, something forgotten, something small. Isn't it incredible how wealth sometimes hides in the quietest places? Of course, not every 1991 penny is worth a fortune. But that shouldn't discourage you. The key is possibility. What if you stopped assuming pennies are worthless? What if you took action while others remained passive? Small actions create big outcomes. And the people who win in life are often the ones who dare to look twice. So here's your next step. Go through your coins. Search your drawers, boxes, old purses, and closets. Check every penny from the early 90s. Examine them in good lighting. Hold them at an angle to catch details. And the moment you find one that looks unusually sharp or unique, set it aside. Protect it. Evaluate it. The cost is nothing. The reward could be everything. You might laugh and say, "Who knew getting rich could start with a penny?" But that's exactly the beauty of it. Wealth doesn't always begin with a grand gesture. Sometimes it begins with the smallest coin in your pocket. And when that coin carries the potential of $991,000 or even millions, suddenly the smallest step becomes the biggest opportunity. As we come to the end, let me leave you with a final, lingering thought. Somewhere in America, someone will eventually discover the next record-breaking 1991 penny. Someone will open a container, find the right coin, send it for grading, and watch their life change in an instant. The only question is, why shouldn't that person be you? Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that the small copper-colored penny you tossed in a drawer decades ago could be worth more than your house. Sounds unbelievable, right? But stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why a simple 1992 Lincoln penny has shaken the collector world, and how one of these tiny coins is currently valued at up to $992,000, with rare examples climbing into the millions. If you've ever wondered whether you might be sitting on hidden wealth without even knowing it, this might be the most profitable 10 minutes you've spent all year. Before we dive into everything that makes this coin so extraordinary, let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at the pennies in your pocket? Not glanced, but really looked? Most people don't. But the people who do are the ones discovering life-changing treasure. And one forgotten penny is all it takes to change a life, a retirement, or even a family legacy. The story of the 1992 Lincoln penny begins like any other ordinary year at the Denver Mint. Billions of coins struck, billions spent, billions forgotten. But buried in that ocean of copper-plated zinc was a microscopic mistake. One so tiny, so easy to miss, that even trained eyes overlook it. And yet, that imperfection, that fractional shift, is the reason collectors will pay unimaginable sums today. Isn't it amazing how the smallest flaws sometimes create the greatest fortunes? If only our own flaws paid that well. To understand why this penny is so valuable, you have to know what makes it different. Most 1992 pennies were minted with what's called the standard wide AM design on the reverse, the AM in America spaced clearly apart. But a few pennies, struck by error or transitional timing, were mistakenly minted using the 1993 reverse die, where the A and M are nearly touching, what collectors now call the close AM. That one microscopic detail separates a penny worth a cent from one selling for nearly $1 million. But here's where things get even more dramatic. The Denver variety, the 1992 D close AM, is far, far rarer than its Philadelphia counterpart. Only a handful are known. A handful in a nation of more than 330 million people. Think about the odds. Think about how many of these could still be hiding in coffee cans, junk drawers, old piggy banks, or those glass jars everyone keeps in the kitchen. It's almost unsettling, isn't it? Knowing that someone, somewhere, might be one casual glance away from a financial breakthrough, while others unknowingly spend theirs on gum or parking meters. Now imagine this. A collector once submitted a plain-looking 1992 D penny to a grading service, expecting almost nothing. When the results came back, it was identified as a close AM, and the value instantly skyrocketed. Overnight, just like that, a penny transformed into a near $1 million asset. And that's the moment we all secretly wish for, the moment a simple thing becomes a fortune. The moment luck, preparation, and opportunity collide. And here's the part that fuels the excitement. Not all rare coins have been found. Some are still out there. The 1992 D close AM market is heating up faster than ever. As more people learn about its rarity, each remaining example becomes exponentially more valuable. Right now, top-graded pieces are valued at approximately $992,000, and collectors believe the next pristine discovery could enter the $1 million zone without hesitation. The demand is rising, the supply is frozen in time, and the clock is constantly ticking. Of course, this leads to the question everyone watching is probably asking. How do I know if my penny is the $1 million one? The truth is, it's easier than you think. You simply flip the coin over and look at the spacing between the A and M in America. If they're close, nearly touching, you might be holding the 1992 D close AM. But don't panic if you feel your heart racing a little. That's normal. We've all been there. That split second of hope is enough to jolt the nervous system. But before you grab every penny in your house and sprint to the nearest magnifying glass, there's something even more important. Condition. Because condition is everything in the world of rare coins. A coin with scratches, discoloration, or where may still be valuable. But the flawless examples are the ones that reach true life-changing territory. That's why so many collectors send their coins to professional grading companies like PCGS or NGC. A high grade can be the difference between a $10,000 surprise and a $992,000 windfall. Now, if you're thinking, what are the chances I even have one of these? Let me remind you, every major discovery in coin collecting history was made by someone who thought exactly the same thing. Until they didn't. And that's the beauty of rare coins. You don't need to spend thousands to find treasure. You don't need to gamble. You don't need to invest in something complicated. You just need an eye, a moment, and the courage to look. And here's something most people don't realize. Every year that goes by makes the remaining ungraded examples more valuable. Coins get lost, damaged, thrown away, buried in landfills, melted. Every day, the pool of surviving examples shrinks. That's not fear-mongering, that's math. Which means the people who take action now, the people who start searching now, the people who check those jars, those drawers, those safe boxes, they're the ones positioned to win. All of this creates a powerful urgency that collectors and smart sellers understand deeply. Time is the enemy of the unprepared, but the greatest friend of the informed. And right now, you are becoming the informed. But we still haven't reached the best part. Because you might be wondering, Why are collectors willing to pay so much for this one coin? Why this penny? And why now? The answer lies in a perfect storm of factors: rarity, demand, timing, and historical significance. The 1992 D close AM marks the end of one design era and the beginning of another. It captures a transitional moment in minting history. It represents a mistake that wasn't supposed to happen. And collectors love the things that weren't supposed to exist. They love stories. They love mysteries. They love anomalies. And the 1992 D offers all of it packaged in a coin most people never look at twice. And let's be honest for a moment. Isn't there something thrilling about beating the odds? About finding value where others see none? About turning the ordinary into the extraordinary? It's the same feeling that drives people to treasure hunt, to collect, to seek rare opportunities. And that feeling only grows as the market climbs higher. Now, before we wrap up, I want to leave you with something that might just change how you see every penny from this day forward. Somewhere, someone is going to find the next high-grade 1992 D close AM. Could be today. Could be tomorrow. Could be a retired couple cleaning out an old box. Could be a young collector checking loose change for fun. Could be someone who almost threw the coin away until something told them to look twice. And it could be you. That's the reality of rare coins. They don't care where you live, how much money you have, or what you do for a living. They reward the curious, the patient, the ones willing to examine what others ignore. And if you've ever dreamed of creating wealth that feels almost magical, wealth that begins with nothing more than the coins you already own, this is your moment. So check your pennies. Study the details. Learn the signs. Because financial breakthroughs rarely come to those who wait, but they do come to those who act. And remember, while most people walk past opportunity every single day without noticing, the people who recognize it, who stay alert, who stay prepared, are the ones who live the lifestyles others only dream about. Imagine waking up one morning, opening an old drawer, and realizing that a simple penny, a coin you've ignored your entire life, could be the key to a wealthier, freer, more secure future. Sounds unbelievable, right? But what if I told you that one forgotten coin from 1994, with no mint mark, has recently surfaced in private sales for as high as $994,000? And in extremely rare circumstances, with the right error and the right buyer, it can push toward the $1 million mark. Yes, a penny. Just 1 cent. The smallest coin in your pocket might be holding the biggest opportunity of your life. But here's where things get even more interesting. Most people who own valuable coins don't even know it. They walk past their wealth every single day. They sell old boxes during spring cleaning. They throw away jars filled with loose change. They underestimate the power of the small. And while they do, someone else finds treasure in places no one bothers to look. Treasure hiding in plain sight. Welcome back to a journey where ordinary Americans discover that wealth doesn't always come from Wall Street, but sometimes from a dusty coffee can sitting in the garage. Today, we're diving into the remarkable, shocking, and almost unbelievable story of the 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. A coin that looks ordinary, behaves ordinary, but under the right circumstances becomes extraordinary. So stay with me, because the closer we get, the more the story pulls you in. And trust me, you don't want to miss what comes at the end. It might just change how you look at every coin you touch from now on. It all begins in the year 1994. Billboards were filled with bright neon ads. Gas was just over $1 a gallon. And the Lincoln Memorial penny was still being struck from copper-plated zinc. No one was paying attention. After all, billions of pennies were minted that year. But as every collector knows, value has nothing to do with how common something appears. It has everything to do with rarity, condition, and the mistakes that slipped through the cracks when no one was watching. And this coin offers a lesson in how the smallest minting errors lead to the biggest fortunes. You might be wondering, how does a regular 1994 penny become a six-figure or even $1 million prize? It starts with the fact that the Philadelphia Mint used no mint mark that year. That alone doesn't make it rare. What does make certain coins valuable is a specific combination of near-perfect preservation, dramatic errors, and extremely high demand from elite private collectors. Think of them as the hidden billionaires of the coin world, the ones who buy what they want when they want without blinking. And when these collectors fight for a coin, prices explode. One of the most sought-after features in high-value 1994 pennies is a rare, nearly impossible to find minting error. Imagine the die shifting for just a moment, or a small piece of metal breaking loose during the strike. Maybe the coin gets stamped off-center, or it receives a dramatic doubled image on Lincoln's portrait or the date. These are the kinds of mistakes that the mint tries desperately to avoid but sometimes, thankfully for you, fails to catch. Now combine these errors with an untouched, flawless surface, and suddenly you're looking at a coin that becomes the star of a bidding war. Some of these error coins have been evaluated by top grading services, given the highest ranks, and then sold privately for amounts that leave the everyday world behind. And the recent market value of a verified rare 1994 no-mint mark penny? $994,000. Yes, nearly $1 million. It's the kind of number that makes you question everything you thought you knew about money. How can something worth 1 cent suddenly be worth more than a luxury home? The truth is simple. Rarity creates desire, and desire drives price. People with wealth are always searching for the next rare piece to add to their collections, the next status symbol no one else owns. And when a coin like this appears, the competition becomes fierce. But here is where you should lean in a little closer, because this is the part no one tells you. Thousands of people right now, maybe even someone you know, might be sitting on a valuable coin without realizing it. The fear of missing out is real because the opportunity is real. And the only thing standing between you and a life-changing discovery is whether you decide to look or not. Think about it. When was the last time you checked your old coin jar? When did you last open that shoebox in the closet, the one filled with random pennies you saved over the years? You might laugh at the idea, but every great discovery story starts with someone who almost threw away a fortune. Someone who ignored a dusty drawer until the day they finally decided to look. Someone just like you. The fascinating part is that 1994 pennies don't look special at first glance. They don't come wrapped in velvet or gold. They look normal. That's exactly why they get overlooked. And that's exactly why so many people miss their chance. Meanwhile, the collectors who know the secrets quietly comb through thousands of coins, hunting for the one that will turn a humble piece of metal into a paycheck larger than most people make in a year. The urgency is simple. Every year, fewer and fewer high-grade 1994 pennies remain in circulation. They get damaged, scratched, bent, or lost. The supply goes down, and when supply shrinks, a value climbs. The longer you wait, the slimmer your chances become. And the market? It never sleeps. Right now, buyers are actively searching, bidding, and acquiring. But if you hesitate, someone else moves faster. You don't want to be the person who hears about someone else finding $1 million penny and thinks, I could have checked my collection. But I didn't. The fear of missing out becomes regret. And regret is a price no one wants to pay. So let's talk about what actually makes a 1994 no-mint mark penny valuable. The first factor is condition. We're talking about mirror-like surfaces, sharp details, no scratches, and no signs of wear. The highest grades command the highest prices. If your coin looks brand new even after decades, you're in the right territory. Next comes rarity, particularly the presence of dramatic errors. These include off-center strikes, double dies, missing layers, broad strikes, and any unusual deformity that clearly came from the mint and not everyday handling. These errors turn your coin into a 1 in a million specimen. And collectors chase 1 in a million treasures relentlessly. Finally, demand. The Lincoln series is one of the most beloved, collected, and historically significant coin series in the United States. Generations of collectors grew up with it. And when an extremely rare 1994 penny surfaces, the nostalgia alone sends competitive energy through the roof. People want it because it symbolizes something personal, something connected to American history, identity, and memory. You can feel the excitement building already. But we're not done yet, because the most important part of this story is the ending. And the ending is where you come in. Right now, someone watching this video is holding a 1994 penny without realizing its potential. It might be in your home, your office drawer, your old wallet, or resting quietly at the bottom of a jar. And if you take a moment to look, just look, You could discover that your path to a wealthier life doesn't require buying crypto, flipping houses, or winning the lottery. It might simply require paying attention to what's already yours. It's a strange feeling, isn't it? The idea that something so small could change so much. But that's the beauty of opportunities like this. They show up in unexpected forms. They test whether you're willing to take action, whether you can recognize value before the world tells you it's valuable. And here's the cliffhanger you've been waiting for. Somewhere in the United States, a 1994 penny with the perfect error, the perfect shine, and the perfect condition has not yet been found. It is still out there, waiting for someone to pick it up. The next $1 million penny is real. The question is, will it be you who finds it? Before you walk away, take one moment today to check your coins. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Because chances like this don't wait. They don't knock twice. And the opportunity in your pocket might disappear before you ever realize what you had. If you're ready to turn forgotten change into financial freedom, start searching. Because the next great discovery story is already being written. And your name might be the one that ends up in the headline.